So here we are. I have the great and powerful Max joining me today on Todd-versations, and I'm excited as all get out.
It's just amazing that you've done some research on my surname, because you're the first person that has ever done that. So although I am Scots, my father is incredibly Scottish. He came from a village 40 miles west of Aberdeen, and he was the first kid in his village to ever go to university. And bless him, he became a doctor of biochemistry. So it goes without saying, wow. I miss that gene pool. But he can in that part of rural Scotland, they speak Doric. Which I just remember meeting my grandparents, and if you could catch the first word and the last word of a sentence, and sort of the connotations of you were going for a walk and there was a big tree, they were talking. It was a bit of a nightmare. But I am allowed to wear a kilt, but it's a real problem, Todd, wearing a kilt. Well, it might not be. So I know that I'm not an overly tall, attractive individual. I just know where I've been placed in life. I'm absolutely fine with that. When I wear a kilt, there's a particular problem I have with women who just rush up to me because they inevitably want to know what's under the kilt. And it is a law that if you wear a kilt, you have to go commando. You can't wear any underwear. So you've got this. I
didn't know that.
You've got this kilt on, and it is Australian women that are the biggest issue. So my best record, we had a Christmas party for the business. It must be 5-6 years ago. I'm sure you have it in America, that there's a big event venue near us, and there'll be something like 30 or 40 businesses. They've all got their own individual table, all piled with booze and food. It was 33 seconds, because we were counting it, from the moment I got to the bar to find, this is a bit rude, everyone, to find a lady on her knees trying to look up my kilt, and she was Australian. It's just Australian women just fall over you if you're wearing a kilt. So if anyone's looking to pull Australian women, wear a kilt. You can borrow mine.
Well. First of all, I assumed it was your cankles, not anything else. I just assumed you had a cankle problem. I don't know why. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have profiled like that. It was wrong of me. But going commando with a kilt, I mean, it's wool. At what point do you realize in the evening that was a bad choice? That's got to be incredibly. It's got, come on.
It's actually, but it's my feminine side. It's actually very comfortable to the point of I've been to a wedding in the summer, and 4 of us were all in kilts, and we all nearly fainted because of heat exhaustion, because we just got too hot. It's amazing. It's amazing. Well, and the place. It's a very good talking point, but no, but Tom, my biggest problem is actually trying to get the kilt on and off. Because I'm too chubby for when I bought it, so I have to and inevitably you've been sliding down a marquee, and you've had too much food, you've had too many cigars and too much pork, and so when you get back to the hotel or back of a taxi or your house, trying to get the kilt, so I just end up waking up with a kilt with a Labrador on top of me. So I try to not do that too often.
Some people here in America pay for that. That's kind of weird though.
I mean, I'm just saying. Oh no, that's all wrong as well.
I'm just saying. So what is going? We haven't even got. I don't even know if we started. I don't even know what's happening. This is the best part about every time I get talking with you. And full disclosure, you're one of my favorite people on the planet. I have learned so much from you. I have appreciated the candor, the open conversations we have offline that people don't get to hear, which are just amazing, and how important you are to my business, to my life, and how much I've really grown to appreciate. And I love what you do. I think what Beanstalk is up to, which I want you to tell people, says over here on this side of the pond, what Beanstalk is and what you guys are all about. Because like I said, I'm just a huge fan.
Thank you. And you've sort of given some of the secrets away by the motorbike over your left shoulder. So let's just give a quick potted history, and we'll run through this, because it's not in my view not terribly exciting, and I'm not very good. I'm not very good at describing my background. So as I intimated, my dad, doctor of biochemistry, my mother, a physiotherapist, my brother, he's got an MA in art history. I made pig arcs. So I started off working on a family farm in Sussex, so just south of London, when I was a nipper, and my mother was sort of giving up on me because I just wasn't academically attuned, but I was very, very practical. So I started working on farms, and there's a great university in in the UK called Harper Adams, and when I went there, it was a college, and it's now a university. And my mother decided that that's where I should go, because I'll be able to live and breathe agriculture, and hopefully someone would take her off my hands and make something of me. So we went up to visit them, and they sent me a letter saying, we've given you a confirmed space. We look forward to seeing you when you've passed your A levels. But you have a confirmed space. So I thought, great. So I went back to making pig arcs, and I sort of worked at my A levels, but I didn't do overly well. And the grades weren't super duper. I hope my kids aren't watching this. And then when it came to instigate the place with Harper Adams, they said, what were your grades? And I told them what my grades were. And they said, well, you can't come. I said, why is that? Because you haven't made the grades. And I said, but you've given me this unconditional letter. And they said, oh, you better come in. And off we went. With Harper. Harper was fantastic, because I was just grounded with a lot of people of the same ilk who loved agriculture. And what really was the making of me was that I obviously had international aspirations at that point in time. With that college course, you have to do a placement year. And there was a fairly, don't say feral, because that sounds awful. There was a fairly, there was a bit of a witch of a careers lady there, and she tried to get me set up with a rubbish dairy farm with 4 cows and a bloke with a big nose in Wales. Everyone in Wales is lovely, apart from dairy farmers. And I decided I wasn't going to do that. And the farm I'd been working on, its owner owns a cotton business in an amazing town called Moree in New South Wales and Australia. So made a couple of phone calls, and they said, Max, come over to Australia to do your whole placement year. And so rather than ending up on a dairy farm in Wales, I went to Australia. And everyone in America, you'll get this, but you have to know that in the UK, our fields, some of our fields aren't very, very big. But when you get to a cotton station, that is, I've got to go to acres, 18,000 acres of laser leveled land with 4 reservoirs, each of around 500 hectares, that were all man-made, and we would be requesting the water come from the dam up at Brisbane, take 3 days to get to us. We had a whole massive heap of stationary caterpillar engines to suck all this water out, and then we would flood it, irrigate the fields. It was just it was amazing. So then came back from Harper. After Harper, worked for, so you have the likes of the PMA, United Fresh, or whatever they're going to be called, January 1st. I worked for a similar organisation in the UK called the NFU, National Farmers Union. I then did that for 3-4 years, got a bit bored of that, became a grain trader, buying stuff off, buying crop off farmers and then selling them back the seed and fertilizer. But I got frustrated with that, Todd, because, and I still think the same happens today a little bit, that those farmers, it's not like they were making shoes and having to go up their drive and sell them to someone. They had little oiks like me and little rep cars going down their drive, trying to buy their crop and trying to flog them things. And I got a bit frustrated of doing that for 3-4 years. And at that point of time, so where are we now? We're in the mid to late 1990s. A lot of my gang from my college, from Harper Adams, had got into the fresh produce sector. And in the UK, it was just at that time when bagged salads were really taking a real big leap. And so these guys, they were traveling to Spain, they were traveling to Morocco, and I was still being shouted at by the same grotty farmers as to where I was. So I approached a recruitment company and said, get me a job as a buyer with Tesco's, the big retailer. And they said, well, you don't have the skill set, but you've got this great black book of contacts. You've obviously got a mouth on you. You can obviously sell. Why don't you join us? So I joined that business as their fresh produce recruitment consultant, worked for them for 5-6 years, and then realized actually I'll probably be better off doing my own thing. And so me and my then dog, we set up Red Fox Executive Selection to major on the agriculture and fresh produce sectors. And we've been running that for, I'm looking at my dog. Magnus, how long have we been running that? 25 years. 25 years, Todd. Long old time. Wow. And just like any recruitment company, we've done all of this in the respect of being big and being small and a couple of recessions. And now we're a really niche team. There's only 4 or 5 of us, but we get picked up by some major companies in the UK and Europe and internationally to source mid-management to board level people. So that side's really interesting. But getting back to this, we've got to link in this motorbike. I'm a recruiter by trade, but I love, I'm like Todd, everyone, I love marketing. It's what gets me out of bed in the morning. My frustration is, having been into the bulk of fresh produce companies in the UK and Europe, I've sat in front of too many MDs and they've said to me, Max, we are 120 million pound turnover. We are conquering the world. That's very interesting, Mr. MD. What's the margin that you're making on that 120 million pound turnover? Oh, it's more about turnover. No. Just out of curiosity, what's the margin? And in the UK, everyone, we're not Texas tough. We're weak sellers when it comes to fresh produce. So most of these companies I'm seeing, just because the way that we've organized ourselves over the years, these companies are making sub 2% margin. And you do better off by putting that money in the bank. And because of that, they have this issue that with fresh produce in the UK, it's very difficult to brand it, to create any leverage when it comes to negotiation with the retailers. So I took it upon myself to try and do something different. So I set up a trip from London to Cape Town on a motorbike, on a Triumph motorbike, to go and visit as many fresh produce companies over 3 months, 4 months, all the way through 18,000 kilometers in 18 different countries. We visited some 60 different companies, businesses, and Todd, it was just amazing. It was unreal. The stories and the people, the hospitality, this world of fresh produce. When you pull on the threads, I know we're all competitors in our own fields, but actually when you get involved with these people, there's such a heart and such a generosity and such a difference to, no offense to accountants or solicitors. No. It's a field of passion, of love, of generosity and of hope. And so doing this trip through Africa, we had 250,000 kids following us in real time. When I came back, I did 50 school presentations. I turn up at schools with my motorbike and go through this crazy presentation and hand out fresh produce. We got a couple of major awards in the UK. I got a major award from our then UK Prime Minister at the time for promoting fresh produce. So that's all good. But when I was doing all of that, I knew there was something more that we could do. And the media, I feel, within fresh produce globally is not that good. In the UK, 6 out of 10 kids don't know where fruit and veg comes from, because the retailers don't really want to let them tell the growers tell that story. So we had this idea about our platform, Beanstalk, that to me, video, just trying to get the stories, trying to get people to tell us about what they do and the passion that they have and the amazing products that the fresh produce that they're growing. So March 2020, just as we entered the UK lockdown, the timing was just right, because our recruitment business, Red Fox, started to quieten down. And so we just got going with Beanstalk. So 18 months on, we've done, I think it's 170 broadcasts on a UK and international basis. We've streamed with everyone from the United Nations promoting the 2021 Year of Fruit and Veg. We promoted with the PMA in America, but also in South Africa. I'll just give you a snapshot of what we're doing this week. We're having a hell of a week this week. That's tomorrow we're with a great group that actually comes out of the States called Global Women Fresh, who are looking to get as many women in fresh produce involved from field to board level. And tomorrow we're with the founder, Julie Escobar, talking about microfinancing. And we're live with 4 inspirational ladies from Rwanda in Africa, talking about how their coffee, their tea, their avocado, and the citrus business was all formed by microfinancing. So that's tomorrow. Yeah. The next day, we're live with amazing company in India called Fresh Express to promote Indian fresh produce. And then the day after that, we're live back in the UK with a great a group called MDS, Management Development Services, that take the cream of the graduates from our UK universities and put them on a 2-year training course and give them 4 secondments with 4 different companies, just to make them rocket stars of the future. So with Beanstalk, and I think this is where Todd and I are very similar, We want to create the conversation and not be part of the conversation.
Correct.
There's such an inspirational story told from all of your contacts, from all of our contacts. If they can get guys like you and I with big mics. By the way, my mic's bigger than yours. I just want to say, I don't know if you. We'll carry on, everyone. He doesn't like talking about that.
But I look better with a kilt.
I'll send you my kilt. So if we can use the catalyst of the ability that myself and Todd have got to get people to open up, to talk with passion about the sector, we're already seeing on our platforms that there are graduates dialing in that are really interested in looking at this sector of fresh produce because they know they can make a difference rather than Todd, I call it the Goldman Sachs moment. Who wants to work for Goldman Sachs and get 150,000 US a year and work 120 hours a week when you can actually come into the fresh food, the fresh produce sector, do some good, feed the world. So I'm on a mission to create change using our platforms and using this mercurial, beautiful, lovely world of fresh produce. And that's why we need partnerships like this, Todd. If there's one thing I have learned over the last 18 months, it's just one word: collaboration.
100%.
The more we can collaborate, especially using this technology, the more that we can better ourselves. You guys in the States, you're experts in marketing. So we want to do more with you over here in marketing. We think we might be experts in the likes of sustainability and packaging. We want to tell you what we've learned so that you learn, so that you can better yourself. We need to make this a whole better playing field. There's a couple of ends here. I am going to get passionate, jingoistic about this. I am of a view that there's 10, 12 food companies for all the right reasons are looking to give their shareholders return, but they're killing people by selling them rubbish produce or rubbish drinks. Talk to me about energy drinks. I've got 2 kids that I see every morning on my drive to work, and their breakfast is 2 cans of, I won't name the brand, but you'll know what it is. 2 massive cans of energy drinks, and that's their breakfast. And you speak to teachers this end, and there's so many issues within school with kids having a bad diet. To me, the cure for a healthy population is more exercise and more of that. Everyone,
100% agree.
I'll be quiet.
No, please, thank you. I 100% agree. You know, when this platform of mine started coming around, it's like, let's work to inspire. That was, kind of the base. I say it every time we end a broadcast. I say it all the time with everything we do. Go inspire somebody today, because it's so easy to do it. It's not hard, but it makes a positive difference. And I think that for me comes out of being in this business for the last 2011 years, or how long it's been. Because every day you went to work making a difference, and I can think back to some of the letters we used to receive from people that, a desperate parent, that their child is only eating a potato that we grow. It's the only thing that child can tolerate. The kids, literally living in a bubble. And, we provided those potatoes. We would, when they call, they'd write us whatever they needed. We'd box them up and we'd FedEx them out and make sure that we were doing our thing. And that really touched me in a big way. And I told this story many times before, but we have such a unique opportunity to help people in such a simple way, right? Because food is a drug that's both positive and can be negative, right? And to your point, we're not going to sustain life on this planet with a box of food that's 79 cents. It just doesn't compute to being healthy, right? If you cannot read and pronounce what is on the side of a box, one should strongly consider probably taking a deeper look at whether or not I should eat that or not. And I think you see that a lot. So I appreciate you sharing that, and I appreciate the openness. I agree with you 100%. We've been so blessed with having, people coming on and sharing their stories from their hearts about who they are and what they're doing, again, with that inspiration. I think food's such a powerful tool. And I think
can I just give you my best example?
Yeah, go.
I'm trying to remember his name. Thomas. So when I came back from Africa, I went and did a school presentation, and I was sponsored for the trip by Pink Lady Apples, which is a fantastic brand to be associated with. And they, with some of the schools that we would go to, they would send forward a few cartons of Pink Lady Apples. So at this school, 500 kids. They after my presentation, got all the kids to come to me, and I would do the patronising thing of ruffle their hair and say, "Come on, kid, what's your adventure going to be?" And they would tell me, or they would think about it. There was a kid that wouldn't join in as I was giving these apples, and I saw this, and I asked the teacher just to hold this kid back. He was 11 or 12. And then I went to him afterwards when everyone had gone and found out his name, Thomas. Thomas, why don't you want to have this apple? I've never eaten an apple. So I got this 12-year-old in a relatively well-to-do area of England, the UK. So I had my obligatory trip penknife. So I cut this apple open. And you just know what it's like with a pink lady apple when it's crisp and fresh. So I stuck it in his gob, in his mouth, and he ate it and he loved it. And he went off, and I was a bit cheeky, and I asked the teacher and the headmaster, could you just find out the address of this kid, please? Because I'm going to send his mother a couple of cartons of pink lady apples. And we duly did that, and I think it got to them by courier on a Thursday or Friday. It happened to be some event in the UK. There was a big football match or sports event, and it so happened that they were having a barbecue. Anyway, the mother came into the school to see the headmaster in tears, to say to the headmaster that she knew she'd been doing wrong with her kids by not feeding them properly. And her son had told her how nice this apple was. And then lo and behold, this man in a white van turned up with a whole load of pink lady apples. And all of the family had a bite, had a pink lady apple, and how inspiring it was, and how she was going to feed her kids and her family properly. And there's so many broadcasts I've done over the last 18 months that I keep on going on about brands, but as so many people have said, Todd, and you'll know, and everyone dialing in knows, it's the taste. Oh my God, you think of that tomato on that given day when you bite into it. Think of that grape. It's got me going. Think of that citrus. So if we can get everyone just excited by fresh food and get them over this addiction that we got over sugary food or fatty food, and get them on side, it's going to do them well. It's going to do the sector well. It's going to do the world well. Everyone's going to benefit.
No, 100% agree. And I think that the kids are the most important aspect, working that next generation of customer and getting them to understand the value that is in the food system, and not letting them be complacent in their thinking. I understand how economics play into people's diets, but in the same token, as a country, how much money are we saving in healthcare costs by promoting healthier eating? We don't talk about that. And especially now, and I can't speak for what's going on over there with you guys, but over here, I don't even know. This is like, we live in like a soap opera, because you don't know who to believe, you don't know what to believe. And so when you're out trying to uplift people, you're trying to inspire people, and you're trying to give people some guidance and some direction, I think people are looking for a trusted voice. So I feel like that's something we're creating here. I think it's something you've created very well there, to get people to recognize that these conversations are valuable to have. There's no downside to listening. There's, educating yourself is what we have to do. We have to, just in the world we live in now, you've got to take some time to invest in understanding what it is you don't, because you can't rely on those you think are telling you the facts any longer. And food is so important.
And Todd, in some ways, it's criminal. If I was 14, could I go to your town and buy fags? Oh, that doesn't work. Could I buy cigarettes? Sorry, everyone. We call cigarettes fags over here, and that's all the wrong way around. If I was 14, could I come to your town and buy a packet of 20 cigarettes?
Probably you probably could figure out how to do it. Yeah.
No. Legally.
But not legally, no. Legally, no.
Okay. So in the UK, a pack of cigarettes is nearly $25 in the UK. So let's go back 10, 15 years. The UK government and governments in the Western world realized that there was a problem with cigarettes, that they were killing people. So what we're going to do about this? Well, we need to tax them, and we need to stick gory stickers on them to try and get people to stop eating. To me, I know I'm simplifying it, but to me, it's exactly the same. We're killing our population by allowing them to consume vast volumes of sugary drinks, energy drinks, fatty foods, or you can eat buffets, whatever you want to call it. the government needs to, as they did with tobacco, they need to curtail that, wake up to the fact that, they might not get they'll lose some tax, but they can make it up in other areas.
Other ways. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, but just to promote that. So within the UK, we promote a group called Veg Power, and they've done amazingly well. They managed to blag the equivalent of 20 million US worth of free TV advertising to try and encourage kids to eat more veg. And we had them on a broadcast recently, and they stated that they just need 100 million sterling to make a difference. I don't know if in the States you've picked up the debacle that we've had with our track and trace over COVID, that we managed to squander 32 billion sterling. So what? Help me, give me a figure. So
what's that, like $1.87 US? I don't know, what is that?
Yeah. So just a monumental sum of money in 18 months
Billions.
to do a track and trace app for COVID, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so we're just asking for our sector for 100 million sterling to be able to create a difference. It's almost like our government's got the priorities wrong. That we've got to get over the pandemic, but there's also a big car crash coming in the way of obesity, childhood obesity, teeth decay, and there's some easy fixes. So we've had the example with tobacco. We are of a view we need to do exactly the same with fresh food, and we've got the answer, Todd. All of our networks just grow the most amazing fresh produce, and what does that do? That does good.
Yeah, 100% it does. And I think that, again, we've got to get back to uplifting these messages. Capitalism is a very interesting thing to watch develop, right? And I think that to your point, what you're saying earlier, about the government, I think if the government here in the United States was in the gym business, like there was, the U.S. government 24-hour open gym for the American population, I think we'd have a whole different narrative right now. But the government's not in the gym business. They're in the business of building businesses. And that's dangerous in a lot of ways. I would love to see our tax dollars go. Why not? Why not put U.S. funded gymnasiums all across this country and let people go work out for free?
Brilliant.
How great would that be?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we're not in that space. And I think that's why some of our issues with healthcare, some of the things we have issues with, is we're not in that business. I mean, I think COVID is a great example of capitalism at its best.
And look at the sea change that's happening globally. There's so many people I know that have woken up to the fact that they don't want to be. I call, it's my expression, a ghost. There's a number of people in my network that commute into London, and from where we are, it's 2 hours on a train. You do your work, a day's work in an insurance company, it's 2 hours back. And when I speak to these many guys, what do you want your son to do? I don't want them to do what I've done for the last 30 years. I'm like, how depressing is that?
Right.
And I remember going to New York and seeing a bumper sticker, and I wish I took a picture of it. And New York bumper sticker on some smart car, and it said, "He who dies with the most toys wins. He who dies with the most toys wins." I thought, well, this is an epitome of capitalism, if ever I've seen it. You can just imagine what that. I bet it was a BMW driver. They're all like that, aren't they? But I bet he's the sort of person that would just walk over anyone to get what he wants, and it's not about that. We've got so much that we can do to change society, but to be successful and have a nice life. But it's not all about the money aspect of it. It is also about friends, family, loving, eating well, drinking well, and just enjoying that. And I get that whole bit about the American government. It's all about building businesses because they get tax revenue. But yet, it isn't there a likelihood off the back of the pandemic that people don't want to be associated with use my example again, the Goldman Sachs of the world. They want to be involved with the B Corp. If those aren't aware, a B Corp is looking to change the world by having business values that are all about empowering their teams and empowering their supply base and doing good. So think of a modern day fair trade type of business. So Todd, there's a definite bit, and this sector again, my apple's going to get worn out. Is all set for that movement to allow it, and it just needs us and our sector to be very welcoming to those people that are looking to come in and create that change. Can I talk about vertical farming?
You can talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about. We don't have an agenda.
because I don't get vertical farming, and I had a really great conversation 2-3 weeks ago with an American CEO who set up a vertical farming business, or was running a vertical farming business, and their model was slightly different from your area farms, in that they're looking at 1.5 acre plots using reusing businesses, reusing like car parks, and using LED lighting as well as natural lighting, and that's to feed the local populace, as well as creating new generations. I think if that works, that works. But if you know of the Dutch international bank, Rabobank, they stated in November 2019 that 90% of the people involved in vertical farming on an international basis would not be involved in it in 3 years' time, because they would just burn cash, run out of cash.
Right.
And this was even prior to pandemic. So there's me lauding the fact that the salvation to the world's ills is fresh produce. Then you get these oddities of vertical farming, of people not reinventing nature, but trying to grow salads in artificial situations, and energy, the amount of energy that these systems use with the spike that we've all been inflicted with over the last 3 months, six months. It's just how viable it is. So I come back to the same thing again, that the growers internationally growing traditional products in the most efficient means possible, whether that be through the seed varieties, through the irrigation, through the deployment of great chemical formulations that aren't harming the environment. Again, there's so much good that can be done. This sector is full of possibilities, and will be full of future possibilities, especially for the generations far out in front of us, Todd.
100% agree. I think two things. One of which, going back to what you talked a little bit about COVID, it's interesting to me, peeling the onion back on this, how functional food, functional medicine, proper care to your health, boosting your own immune system, as you said earlier, taking a walk around the block, all these other things are going to be a positive attribute to helping fight a pandemic. But yet it took a pandemic to, I think, in some ways start to elevate this conversation of like, oh, what do you mean? Quercetin's good for me, vitamin C. And the problem I think we're seeing now, just to kind of go down this pandemic trail for a second, is here, nobody knows who to trust anymore, right? Nobody knows where to go for information. And so now we have all these conflicting reports, and this guy's lying, and this lady's lying, and she's quitting. It's a mess. But I think the one thing that's remained true is that food is a drug. Food is a good thing, and food could be a bad thing. But if you invest in yourself, because the sun, water, and food connect this planet, right? Yeah. We invest in ourselves and take that time. I think it's tremendous opportunity that we could start to heal ourselves much better than I think some of the misinformation, whatever information you want to call it, that we're being told. Because you can peel back all these reports, and dig deeper and find out that, maybe some of these things aren't the right course, right? They're an immediate course, but they may not necessarily be the long-term right course. And I think food is that long-term right course. And as for your vertical farming, I agree with you. It's an interesting model. There's a lot of money spent, billions and billions of dollars of investment money. And it's interesting to me to see where this is going to play out. And you're right. I think over the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to see what I call the thinning of the herd that's coming. And I think that the idea of putting food local, I think, is fantastic. I understand it. Food in the food desert. I mean, why not have fresh produce in the desert in Dubai? I think it's a great way of doing it, right? They deserve that. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And I know that you guys are busy over in the UK with a lot of startups. Obviously here, every street corner, it's like, I think it's almost like Starbucks. Every street corner has a Starbucks. Well, every street corner on the other side has a vertical farming operation firing up. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
But a very well-versed and educated man told me that in America, there's somewhere in the region of 1.4 billion US has been spent on vertical farms, but collectively those vertical farms have only got 100 million US in sales. Go Correct. Figure. How does that equate? Is it the Uber model that you keep going until you can sell it? I'm thinking of the financial scandals that have happened in America, like I can never say her name, the Fonofos thing. Yeah, you try and get it to an IPO type state and be able to sell it on.
Yeah, I think there's some of that. I think there's guys in the technology business, right? They're out creating patents. I had a group that I worked with years back that were very young in this space. They had 19 patents that they had filed, and they're gone, but their patents live on. So I think some of this is interesting. You have some of these guys are looking at this from the pharmaceutical space standpoint. Some of these guys are looking at growing alternative things that you can't necessarily do here in the States. And I also think one of the other interesting areas that's coming of this that I am intrigued by and have done some research is space travel. And how are we going to, because we're all wanting to move to Mars, because apparently real estate's cheap there. You don't get no cable, no Wi-Fi, but real estate's cheap. And it's a tad windy, and it does get really, really cold. But those are just small issues we'll get through. But they're in a race to produce food for whatever's coming next 50 years from now, 20 years, whatever it is, right? I think, if the aliens are coming, we're looking to leave, I guess is the mantra. But that's an interesting part that I'm fascinated by, is these guys growing food in that premise of going up to space. That's kind of cool.
Okay, but let's investigate space. Why is there a big rush to get out to space? It's not to just sit on Mars playing Tetris. There's a value. There's a value in those asteroids.
Sure.
Because of the technology that we are deploying in the likes of these things and these things, there's a demand for high grade metals, and our asteroids have them. So that's the long term plan for the next generation. And it's very similar to when America was the Wild West. And was it us, Todd? I can't remember who sent people out there to go and populate it. It's just the next thing that's the fascinating makeup of mankind, isn't it? We can't just sit still. We need to go to discover it and create something and have a few wars along the way. But yeah, there's definitely that bigger goal. And look at everything that's I was going to say Elon Musk got the wrong around. Jeff Bezos has been doing the respect specifically of him, but then he's been looking to do good, you could say, by investing whatever the figure was, 200 million in a vertical farming setup around your neck of the woods. That was planning to have 50 units live within a 4 or 5 year period, and currently have only got 2. Gained another 150 million US of funding. Where's that money gone? That's a question for another time. But the bit I wanted to mention was that I did a great broadcast with a South African investor who advises funds, and he saw this loop that in the last recession that there were so many funds that were racing towards ag to farming globally because they saw it as a safe haven, having never been in it before. Now, where we are with this perceived pandemic recession, those funds are doing exactly the same thing. They're looking to race into ag farming, but also into fresh produce and also the ancillary technology. And although I've probably given a bit of a hard time to vertical farming, I do think it's great that there's this interest coming into this sector, because as you've intimated, Todd, some of it's going to work, some of it's not going to. There's going to be some thinning out, but if it helps to raise the promotion and the productivity of fresh produce, and it means that all of our connections, be it growers, all those in the supply chain and the retailers, can benefit from it, and that the consumer is actually going home and scratch cooking a lovely risotto using the most amazing mushrooms near you, or making apple pie with the most rather than buying jingoistic plant-based foods from one of those top 10, 12 food manufacturers that they've just loaded it full of artificial substitutes and claim it's plant-based. If we can kick them into, so I think the more traction we could get into the sector, knowing that there's going to be attrition. But again, if you look at the stats from the UK, there's a prediction that our current 16-year-olds, by the time they retire, when they're 60 or whatever, they potentially will have upwards of 60 jobs in the gig economy. And you could perhaps see that as these businesses grow, they're going to need a contractor to come in to do the social media, or to do the plant synthesis, or to do their genetic modification on apple varieties. And those individuals, actually, rather than being wage slaves, could realize that I'm really interested let's just go for plant genetics. I'm really interested in plant genetics. I could really carve out a very interesting career here and be paid well, but only work 3 days of the week and spend the other 2 days of the week on the beach or with my family or working at a food bank, whatever it is. Rather than being caught in this in the wage slave trap. Again, this catalyst that is fresh food. There's so much that can evolve from it. Even feeding astronauts.
Yeah, well, what we're seeing here in the States is that we don't have a next generation of farmer coming, right? The statistics are out there. There's not a second generation in a lot of cases. And now we've created a system where a farmer can actually make more money just by selling their water rights and not actually farming, right? So that becomes very scary when you start to think that, the guy that's, maybe he's a second generation. His father started it. Yeah. He's doing it. His kids are like, I'm out. We're not interested in going back to the farm. And that's really dangerous. And to your point about how this new ag technology is coming along, a lot of these young people who are on these things, on these phones at a very young age, they know how to use them way better by the age 9 than you and I will ever figure out in our lifetime. These kids don't want to go dig in the dirt. These kids want to go and be scientists. They want to connect wires and they want to think about it. And they want data and they want to use this technology that they've grown up with and advance it. So I think that's going to be an interesting thing when these next generation, these young children come up. But Todd, getting into that space.
Todd, surely that's evolution, not revolution, in the respect of the farm I'm on here. We'll pick a year. 70 years ago, it nearly had 70 people on it farming it, and it's now got 2. And it is 5-6 times more productive. Isn't this just us? Isn't this just mankind evolving and being able to create new solutions? So the likes of great example. There was a farmer our way. He advertised for a tractor driver. Didn't get any responses. This is about 2 years ago, just prior to everything going crazy.
Right.
So he advertised for a software engineer, and he got a handful of applications. He then explained to the people that came through that, well, the software you're actually going to be running is $250,000 US worth of tractor, sat nav, drill behind you, and I need you to run all of that. And he's got a software engineer as a tractor driver now running this kit. So there's different ways of spinning it. So I think there's but it is a very serious point, and we can learn from the Africans. What does Max mean by this? There's an amazing business in Ghana called Blue Skies. Blue Skies is I think they're here. Yeah, they're here. Woo. The UK based. An amazing story. I absolutely love this chap. He's one of my heroes over and above Todd, but don't tell Todd.
That's right.
And Anthony was in the army. He worked for a fresh produce company doing slice and dice fruit. He wanted to push that business on, and they said, Anthony, go off and do some blue sky thinking. And so he left thinking, right, I'm going to do some blue sky thinking. He'd never been to Ghana before in his life. 24 years ago, he went to Ghana, went to the capital, Accra, found 10 locals and started cutting up pineapples under a palm tree. Today, they're the largest private employer in Ghana. 4,500 people. They have an ecosystem of 35,000 people that work or hang off in a positive manner. This amazing business. It's like a social enterprise before social enterprises came about. If you're in the UK and you buy slice and dice, coconut, mango, papaya, pineapple in a pot, it comes from them. They've got a site in Ghana, site in Benin, site in Egypt, site in South Africa, site in Brazil, about 200 million 200 million US turnover. The reason for mentioning them is that in Ghana, as well as in the rest of Africa, there's a massive problem with urbanization. Because to be seen to be working on the land, you're seen as a peasant.
Correct.
And the issue is that those kids, they run off to the cities, and in the 10 fastest growing cities in the world are all in Africa. And you know where I'm going with this one, Todd, that those kids run off to the cities thinking they're going to become accountants and doctors, and they end up being prostitutes and taxi drivers. And it's beyond sad. So Blue Skies, they set up a school farms competition. All of the schools within 50 kilometers of their main site, every year they have a big truck that takes out to the schools a pack, and in the pack is seed, fertilizer, and tools.
I love it.
And the winning schools, because they do this big, and we've transmitted it live on our international networks earlier this year. The winning schools get computers for all of the schools.
I love it.
And they're these kids, they're grubbing up 2 acres of land to plant the most incredible fresh produce. They're then selling that in the local villages to pay for all the stationery. And please don't think that these are a bunch of kids under with hardly any clothes on and under a piece of tin. These kids, when we saw the presentation, they were doing PowerPoint presentations with the gross margin that they were making out of their cucumbers by selling it to the local police station. It was mind blowing. And what that's done is encourage those kids that actually there's more excitement and more potential, because the Ghanaian government want all these kids to be involved in agriculture, to be involved in that sector and to do good rather than rushing into the cities. So I think if we could get kids interested in sticking a seed in a pot and watching it grow, and following it through. We did a lovely broadcast about a month ago with a Michelin-starred chef who took on the job of being a school chef in London, and she found it really difficult, but broke the kids in that they've now got these kids prepping fish on a Wednesday, ready for the school dinners on a Friday. They're going foraging in a local park for fungi. Would you believe this? Fungi and other greenery so that they can cook it. And there was a disjoint between the school and the kitchen, because the teachers would look down at those in the kitchen, and the kitchen was just serving rubbish food. Now that there is one, and it's an integral part, and you've got these kids actually interested in cooking, so they're age 8 and 9, and they're going home to cook for their families. So
it's super important. We have to invest in the kids. I love it. I mean, what a great story. I did it with my kids. My kids rode around the back of the truck when they came up, with me on the farm, being able to go out every Saturday and see stuff and jump out and cut and eat and try. Kids are naturally curious. They will follow a positive lead if we give it to them. And I think it's so important that we do this. We've got somebody coming up on the broadcast that has spent her career working to help change school lunches, in the sense of, like, we can actually cook scratch meals in school and be under budget and be within the budget that we're given. You take a look at a school meal in this country, it's, some kind of a canned fruit packed in sugar. It is, we're not throwing grass-fed beef out there. We're not throwing organic milk out there. We're not throwing out things that drive in, I think, what I call a positive cost of food, which ultimately leads into positive costs elsewhere inside of our supply system. Trying to be cheap is dangerous, right? There's a hidden cost in being cheap. You talk about areas, about agriculture being a impoverished industry. It's true. South America is the same way. Whether you talk with the folks at Dos Silva in Nicaragua, talking about that you're considered to be in poverty if you're in the agriculture sector. Same thing in Peru. Some of the issues that they're seeing there with no healthcare, no idea, people have no opportunity to grow. And it blows me away that we put such little energy into the people that are putting food on our dinner tables to sustain our world. It's quite frankly, we should be uplifting these folks, and some of these other crazies, we should be downsizing their role in our world, because it's not healthy.
And let's shock everyone, Todd. See if you know this example. So the likes of the tobacco industry, when they realized the game was up in the Western world, where did they go? Africa. So they are creating ongoing issue down there. Mexico. Do you, Todd, know what the annual consumption of Coca-Cola is of a adult male in Mexico?
Staggering. It's staggering. I know. I've heard this.
35 gallons.
A
year.
Staggering.
So everyone, can you envisage 35 gallons, whether that be imperial or metric? That is a load and what's the upshot of that? Mexico has got one of the highest diabetes rates in the world.
Absolutely.
And Todd, it's I am being flippant now, but what's that old saying? Wherever you go in the world, 2 people have been there before you. The guy selling Coca-Cola and the guy selling Michael Jackson t-shirts. And you look at Mexico, and Coca-Cola have just rifled in there and captured a market where if you're seen to be drinking Coca-Cola, you're seen to be prosperous. What amazing marketing. It's a shame bloody Coca-Cola don't swear Max couldn't have done the same with apples. We had a major lecture event that people from the UK will be aware of it. It's called the City Food Lecture. And there's about 500 people normally attend. We have our Princess Anne gives the keynote speech at the end. And about 4 or 5 years ago. By the way,
where are you in line with the throne? Where are you, like number 3 or 4? Where are you in the list? Just curious.
I'll have to phone William. I always forget. It's not.
I thought it was Billy.
Really
I thought you guys called him Billy. Isn't that right? No.
I could tell you some stories.
I bet you. Oh, I'm sure you can.
I could tell you some stories about William.
I'm sure you can. Yeah,
I'm really for another day. Hold it. Just let me finish this one. Yeah, the main speaker was the vice president of PepsiCo for UK and Europe. A very eloquent speech, and we had a great guy, Chris White, who's the editor of FruitNet Media, and he's involved with Fruit Logistica in Berlin. So he's a big noise and very well thought of in the sector. When it came to the questions, Chris stood up in front of 500 people and said, "Mr. PepsiCo, when are you going to invest in the banana industry, please?" And Mr. PepsiCo, without a hesitation, said, "When you show me how to make money in bananas, we'll get involved in bananas." Next question.
Right.
And here comes that issue again, that within the UK we're very bad sellers of our fresh produce, whilst the likes of the Coca-Colas of the world and the other branded goods, they've got that leverage. And that's why the retailers in the UK, they will not allow us to have brands, because they're fearful of us creating leverage and being able to look to ascertain gain more margin. And we've got the issues that I think you've got to be interested to discuss it. So we've got a huge upshift of labour costs, packaging costs, 15% up, transportation costs through the roof. The retailers here, we have a tender system with most of the retailers, and a lot of those tenders have been rolling for the last 6 months because no one knows what the hell to do. But the upshot is that our UK retailers, they need to pay the fresh produce growers more because the costs are just escalating. But what annoys me is that the retailers are already starting to increase the prices of fresh food, claiming inflationary pressures, which, yes, they'll have themselves in their own transportation and their own labour, but they're not passing any of that down the supply chain. So that we're coming to a real game of brinkmanship within the UK, that there will be growers who just will stop. They'll stop farming and stop supplying the retailers, and the retailers will go, "Well, where's our broccoli? Where's our courgettes? Where's our apple?" Sorry, Mr. Tesco's or other retailers are available. We can't afford to do to serve you anymore. I've turned my farm over to cereals. I'm going to start growing houses on it. It's the only thing I can do.
Well, we're seeing it here.
Yeah. So what's the solution? Todd, you and I always know there's always a solution. I keep on telling my kids, there's always a solution to every problem. Is a solution. So collectively, what do you think is the solution to this dilemma that we've got, that your growers, our growers, your market, our market needs to see better returns? When you got the likes of a can of Coke, they 24% of that income for that can of Coke is spent on marketing because they're making such a margin. How do we need to see food inflation in the UK? And that's not to cause issues. We're just so far behind everything else. $1,000 for a phone. Wow. Yeah, well, that's and bananas. What do you tell me? For half a dozen bananas in the US,
price of bananas haven't gone up in 15 years. No, you make a tremendous point, and multiple points, as you normally do. First off, I would love to see the fast food industry start serving only good food. You want to change America's diet? Just say, fast food guys, you can't serve crap anymore. That'll never happen, but start there, right? That would change the American diet fairly quickly. When it comes to the retail sector, I think there's my biggest concern and issue is that while there's amazing retailers around this planet that do amazing jobs, I don't need to call out any names. They know who they are. You've been in their stores, Max. There's amazing ones in the UK. Go fine. They're unbelievable. We have got into this rut of the only way to compete any longer is by becoming the cheapest person in the game. In 2008, with the downturn economy in this country, we saw that. Buy 10 paper towels for a penny. Oh, now you can get 11 for a half a penny. Whatever the case may be, we have built this narrative around our food that cheap is what is to be expected, as opposed to good is what we should demand. And that we need to recognize that food, again, is a drug, and that food is something that should always be talked about in the light of a positive cost. Packaging is a positive cost of food. It is not our fault that the oil is up. It's not our fault. I mean, it's a part of what we have to understand. Transportation is a positive cost of food. There are no trucks. And if you want to get into the truck thing here in the States with the docks backed up, this is, to me, is just completely ludicrous that the backup in California at these docks can almost be avoided, but they won't allow non-union drivers on the dock. And you have to have a truck that's older than 2011, but the average age of a truck of an owner operating in this country is 2008. So they have to go modify their engines up by 2020. They had to have their engines modified, but then by 2035, all these trucks are going to be off the highway because they have to be electric, yet we don't have any electric truck technology. So these guys don't know what to do. There's drivers that are non-union drivers that are driving back and forth in front of the docks right now in protest saying, we're here to help, but they won't let them on to help. So we get into this whole, and I got off on a tangent going off food, but I wanted to get the dock thing in because I think it's a part of this conversation that we don't have hard conversations. We have conversations up here, and it's like we don't want to solve them down here. We want to point out a problem, and then that's the end of that narrative. We don't want to try to go solve it. So when I go back and I listen to these growers, and we're going to the same thing here, there's going to be people leaving. There's going to be people going out of business. There's going to be people, like, again, selling their water rights. There's going to be acquisitions. There's going to be a lot of changes. But the one thing I'm seeing is that we're not putting more growers in, we're putting less growers in, which makes it even, I think, in some ways tougher. But we have to get to the point where the growers say, I cannot sell you this box of widgets for $12. As much as, I don't understand how any retailer in this country can actually determine what a box of produce should cost unless they're growing it themselves. It's a really tough narrative that we put ourselves in, and it's hurting our country, and it's hurting our health, and I think it's hurting the next generation of growers.
And we are fundamentally stupid sometimes. That so in the UK we call it the race to the bottom.
Absolutely.
There's been numerous examples, say in the leafy salad sector, of a dozen growers all getting together to set a price that they won't drop below. This is a few years ago, but you understand the example. And then the next day, one of those growers breaks that, and it's not trying to set up a cartel. It's trying to be sensible to keep a ceiling there. But one of them broke that handshake agreement just so that they can win more volume, and they did it at a loss. What's that saying? Profit through sanity, not volume through vanity. I love that expression that we use a lot on our broadcast, being Texas tough. If you're listening from Texas, we learn a lot from you. Got to be tough. If that retailer wants to buy it, we've got to be in a better place. So it's fascinating in my world in the UK that of the interviews I've done with business leaders, I won't name him, but there's one I did 2 weeks ago at a show with a top fruit business that's about 200 million US equivalent turnover, and that CEO was very doom and gloom because his costs were going up, haulage was going up, having problems with the retailers. It's all doom and gloom. I spoke to one of his competitors today, and he was very chipper because he was winning lots of business from retailers because the retailer has got bored of the low bar that these other suppliers have set, and the lack of talent and enthusiasm and creativity that's happening, whilst this other business is just rapidly on the ascent because it's got better management, better culture, better people, better growers. So I suppose, Todd, where we've got to be a bit careful is that we can't be introspective and it's all doom and gloom and the world is against me.
No.
We did a broadcast with Pick and Pay which is a retailer in South Africa, and there's a gorgeous fresh produce buyer there, and as she stated, Max, never waste a crisis. There's always going to be an opportunity. But just coming to your point, just from a UK perspective, and speaking to the logistics companies that they deal with, they hate anything to do with the eastern side of the UK because and I'm sorry, everyone, they just see it as corrupt because of the problem with the unions there. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't understand or haven't done a deep dive on the politics. But we had similar issues here in the UK 30 years ago, and it was stifling UK business. And we moved on. We created solutions, and it wasn't pretty at the time, but everyone has moved on, and I would say that everyone is in a far better place. I don't know how you break that your end, because actually what it's doing is it's like the butterfly effect. You've got all of our containers. You're slowing up the whole system.
Correct.
Or it's the minority that are ruining it for the majority. And yes, Todd, I don't know what the answer is, but it's been known on a UK, European, international perspective that there's an ongoing logjam, and there has been for years on that eastern side of the US. So if I could wave the proverbial magic wand to create a solution there,
agreed.
But you would assume that you got a you got a government. You'd hope that they would be able to create change, or maybe they're frightened of the situation and are trying to brush it under the carpet as well.
Well, again, I think they look at the problem, but I don't think they figure out. I think it's really easy to look at a problem. It's really hard to solve a problem. And so if you don't put the right people with the right mindset in the room to solve problems, you just continue to have a problem at a different level or a different scale. Yeah. And I think I look at I was just down in Southern California. There's more boats out offshore than you can actually see, because it's smoggy for one, which and by the way, you should be able to, it's important that you see what you breathe, but nonetheless, it's unbelievable. But to think that we could actually fix that problem, even if it was it's like, okay, we're going to do this for a month, but they don't want to do it. They want to say, hey, it's the truckers. It's the trucker. I don't think it's the truckers. I think there's 400,000 independent operators out here that you probably can get 15 or 20 of them to show up and say, we'll haul this stuff for you, but we don't want to. We just want to continue talking about some of these problems. We don't want to solve them. I think that's where we become dangerous. The problem is a better narrative than the solution in a lot of ways.
Yeah, there's an internal government term in the UK, which I've used so many times over the last 18 months. And that is, we are but 4 missed meals from anarchy. So if in the UK, if the general populace doesn't get 4 meals on the bounce, people will take to the streets. It sounds like there's that grumbling within the states, and whether that would be perhaps a step too far, but to point out to those individuals involved, if you don't just wake up to the reality here and stop being so set, that perhaps positive change could be created on the back of that, Todd. What do you think?
I 100% agree. I think like back to my point about fast foods. You start driving through, like you go through a Starbucks drive-through. We're out. You start to do that in this country at McDonald's and Burger and all these big places that are packed for breakfast and packed for lunch. People are going to start to realize, there really is a big problem, right? I'm shocked in the way I think that sometimes we don't take the things that we should take seriously serious. And the things that we decide to make a big deal. Food is something I cannot for the life of me understand why it is not at the forefront of more conversations, because it connects us all. And it has so much power to do so many great things, whether it's climate, right? I mean, whether you want to talk about the climate, you want to talk about personal health, all of it.
Yeah. So I asked one of my kids, let's pick a kid. I've got too many of them. Let's go for the 13-year-old. And I asked him on a car journey once, what's more important to you, fresh food or the internet? I hardly got the sentence out. The internet.
Oh yeah.
And it is literally that Netflix is more important than fresh food. We've just turned into. But let's not be negative, everyone. Todd and I are trying to find a solution on this one. We've turned into this all-consuming society that is about the internet. It is about how many likes you get on that Instagram, on that TikTok, on that Facebook.
Get
post.
That dopamine.
Yeah, but again, where's my app gone? Again, it comes down to the fundamentals that we could do both. We could do both, and I do think a lot of the solutions to the world ills is fresh food. That the more that we can get involved with, the more that we can get people involved with it, and perhaps use the likes of the Netflixes and the Instagrams of the world to excite everyone about consuming fresh food, we're going to be in a far better place.
100% agree. And I think that we have got to work to elevate the conversation, which is why I believe so strongly in this platform we've created, which I know is why you believe in the platform you've created, that we've got to start having these hard conversations and throw some things out there that people just, look, I guarantee there's going to be people that are going to hear what we've talked about today and be pissed off at us for saying it. The retail community, I'm sure, is going to be heated at me for saying, we got to stop telling these guys that their value is only $12 when you don't have any basis points for that.
So guys, it's fascinating. In the UK, my Sainsbury's, there's how many Sainsbury's stores are there? There's about 528 Sainsbury's in the UK. So the second largest retailer in the UK. My Sainsbury's, and it's an average size one, it has 32,000 different lines of products. And it's just when you go there and you look at the pasta, and there is 20 foot of pasta lines. How many different bloody varieties of pasta do you need? And you can duplicate that over to the crisps and so on and so forth. There's so much more that could be done to make their job simpler. And we're seing new startups coming along that are actually looking at just majoring on what we actually need, and we don't need such a variety of choice and all the issues that causes around sustainability and waste. Todd, come on, we can create this solution. Come on, let's be positive here. What would you like to see? What would you like to see implemented in the next 5 to 10 years to get people to eat more fresh produce and for everyone in the supply chain to benefit? What would you see? Come on, I'm leaning on the master now.
Yeah, no. First, I believe it needs to be a part of our public education curriculum. I think we've got to start there. First and foremost, I think that we need to do a better job of calling out the things now in this world, in our food supply, that are dangerous. Well done. I think that, to me, is two very, very easy starting points that would change everything so quickly. Because if we can get the young kids to realize that a word that has 27 consonants in it and 4 vowels and you can't pronounce isn't what you should be eating, but an apple is, we will slowly, generationally, change what we've put into place. I believe that some of what's happened is because, to the point we said earlier, it's capitalism, right? If you can sell an energy drink, somebody's going to buy it, somebody wants it. We've got them hooked. We've got them, all these different things you want to talk about. It's just, we're not going to win the day. We're going to take ourselves down this dark, slippery slope that we're not going to be able to recover from, because we're not putting the energy back to where we need it, which is back onto the farm and back to increasing that generation's vitality and the next generation. And thinking just quickly about ag technology and these vertical guys, one of the biggest problems these guys are going to have is that these guys can't be, $1.99 a clamshell of salad at the retail because their costs are too high. But they're not getting any kind of a runway to be $2.99 or $3.99 or wherever they need to be. So to me, I think that's the key thing, is a education downstream with the young children, starting early education about the food, why it's important, and keep on that, and start showing by example inside the school lunch programs themselves. And 2, start calling out the things that are bad. Start saying these are a healthy choice. I think that's what we've got to do. And it's an unpopular choice to the capitalists. I totally get that. But to me, those are the 2 things, in my opinion, that'll be the fastest change that we could do that doesn't take 5 generations, 4 generations.
So all credit to you. Look, go back to my tobacco example. Those companies pivoted to find other things to look at, whether you call vaping
the all right for the kids,
the right direction to go. But with these 10, 12 big major food players globally, can they not look to get more involved in? And I think they know this. I think within the UK, we see some big, I'll just name them. Nestle is quite interesting because that's on an acquisition trail of buying fresh food businesses that add value. They bought a major box scheme called Mindful Chef last November. And is that covering the bases, knowing that they perhaps won't be able to sell chalky bars, or there's going to be a tax coming in? So they're trying to find out other revenue avenues. So go back to our word that you and I both love, collaboration. So rather than perhaps calling out dangerous food, or no, let's go for this. Perhaps we should call out dangerous food, but also look to collaborate with these 10, 12 major food companies to start looking at and investing in fresh food. So the likes of the drive-throughs that we were talking about that you just, it's great having one once in a while, Todd. God, I'm up for that. It's great fun, but to have it when you, oh my God, when I was in one a couple of months ago, and there was a mum with a 3-month-old baby feeding her baby a Big Mac. What's that about? But to get those companies to rather than just having carrot battens in a bag, actually do more, be more progressive.
Right.
And if the consumer is then getting used to paying $2 for an apple, because that's crikey what they pay for a Big Mac, perhaps we can, here comes my expression, perhaps we can create societal change, get those bigger food companies involved, collaborate with the fresh produce side, and start to stick these products through the supply chain, and realize that actually they can make an income from it. Just coming back to one point, I'm very intrigued about we have discounters in the UK, Aldi and Lidl. Right. Right. On the week before Christmas, they demolish the prices of fruit and veg in the hope that that's going to get the consumer in. We have a Kantar, who are a statistical information business that monitor everything that everyone buys, and they've proven without doubt that the likes of the discounters halving the prices of fresh produce the week before Christmas. That's all those growers harvests in the respect of commercial income. And instead of that, when they halve the pricing, it doesn't increase footfall. They're just giving money away, and it doesn't work. So go back to your point: education, calling out dangerous food, and I would actually add collaborating with those major food companies to come into the fresh food, the fresh sectors, so that we can all work together to save this planet.
Yeah, well, but I think the scariest thing about what we've just talked about is that nobody has to do anything, right? So now you're asking them to do something, and why should they do something they don't need to go do, right? Because we're all just, kind of sheep looking for a shepherd, and we just kind of follow along, and that's the way it is. And I think we have to start to elevate that conversation, which is exactly what we're doing with these platforms, and start to get people to realize that they can vote with their dollars and that they have more power. We collectively have more power than any one company does. And we need to start acting as if we have some of that power, and we can use those dollars to say, I'm not going to make that choice because it's not the right choice for the long-term gain. And I hope that people get inspired by that.
Well done. Just to pull at that thread, our biggest pension investment company in the UK is called Legal & General. It is stated to the top 100 companies that it invests in that if they do not have a diversified board for each of those 100 companies, if they do not have a diversified board by the end of 2022, Legal & General will pull the funding from that business. Should we not also be on a similar basis, the likes of Legal & General, with the food companies that they're involved with, that they're investing in, state to them, we want you to do good with your business, to feed your customer base, to feed your retailers with good food and not dangerous food, not food that's going to do harm. Please do that. Otherwise, we're going to pull back our investment. And likewise, there's VCs and private equity businesses that invest into food companies to do likewise. Don't chase the dollar. Chase being good, Todd. Chase being good.
I agree. Well, I 100% agree. And I think that, people are starting to vote with their dollars in some ways. You look at what the organic movement's done here over time. It's a 60 billion. It's on its way to who knows where. It's continued to go. People are buying things like that have fair trade certification on them because they know they're making a difference. They're empowering people, which to me, I'm late to the table on the fair trade conversation. I mean, I know what it is, knew what it was, but never was got my arms wrapped around it and finally realized promoting and working to create the next generation of farmer, because we're giving them a pathway out of poverty and a pathway to do more, to go to college, to come back to the farm, to bring that knowledge. That's a hard thing to look away from if you really truly want and believe that, the positive cost of food is a conversation worth, shouting from the highest belfry. And I think that's something we've got to do.
I've got a new motto for us. I've got a new motto it's very straightforward. For us and our collective fresh produce community globally, do good.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Do good. Yeah. I mean, it's real. And it sounds like it's such a big, you think about it, it's like, go do good. It sounds like it's such a big deal, but I say it all the time, go inspire somebody. It's not hard to do. You just got to do one thing good every day and start to have these conversations that are going to make a positive change. We've got no choice, because I think that if we don't continue these conversations, your kids' kids are going to be faced with a world that you and I can't even conceive of, but they're going to be faced with challenges that they may not be able to reverse. They may have challenges that we may not be able to fix, and that's really concerning.
Yeah, and just to complicate it further, so we've just recently had COP26 in the UK, and we had 100 world leaders in attendance. Food wasn't on the agenda.
Food's not on the agenda.
On the agenda.
No.
COP26 at all,
No.
which to me is an utter disgrace.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate to think that is the one thing that unifies the planet, and it's not on the agenda. But they all ate it on their PJs when they flew into Glasgow. I mean, you couldn't get a parking place at that airport.
Yes.
Right. I mean, but at the end of the day, how does this not come back around to the one thing that connects the planet? The one thing that, you want to talk about reducing, your carbon, you want to talk about your climate issues. Agriculture is both pro and con to climate, right? And more pro in a lot of ways. No, I agree with you. It's interesting. We got to, I think there's a Max and Todd broadcast that needs to happen. I think we just need to go take on the world's topics. You and I bring some people on. Let's go.
Because I think what's fascinating about this type of conversation is that although America and Britain are similar, but we're also two different countries, but we've both got the same aims, but culturally we're different, but we've both got the same aims. We've both got the same desires and objectives. And it's a bit like, I don't know about yourself, Todd, and everyone who's listening, when I've been on sort of courses and things, you get to the bar and you suddenly find that everyone's got the same problems. But actually, Jack over here had a really good innovative solution, or Michelle over here has thought about doing this. And again, it comes back to this expression about collaboration. Talk is good, talk is healthy, and this is such a beautiful family globally. That if Todd, if you and some of your friends, if you came with me to Africa or to Europe or to the UK, we would just have such a and learn so much. And likewise, if we came to you with our ideas and our passion and our naivety as to how you do things, we would. So we must do that as well when we get out of where we are, as well as getting other people on. We all want to meet all of you. So you come over here and we'll go over there.
Done. I'd love it. I mean, this come on over to the US. Just all you got to do is land in any city, and it's just like coming into Disneyland. It's such a circus. I mean, it's just an absolute circus. Every day it's like, well, that's entertaining. That's what I say now about our media. It's like, well, that's entertaining. Yeah, it's nuts. Come on over. We'd love to have you. I mean, we got a basket full of crazy over here.
Yeah, but in comparison, we've got our amazing Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, who is just he doesn't know how many kids he's got because he's had so many wives and affairs and so on and so forth. But it's all colourful, mate. Todd, all makes the world go round.
Absolutely, it does. And it takes people like you and I to put a little bit of sanity into a little bit of the insanity that's around us. Our little small sliver of giving back and inspiring and making a difference, right? I mean, that's what the best part. I mean, truthfully, isn't that some of the best part about what you do when you do your broadcast? It is for me. You get done and you have somebody come on and I walk out and it's like, holy crap, that was freaking amazing. That absolutely leveled me. That conversation blew me away, where the whole idea, the passion, we've got somebody coming on this week. The first people here in the States that have they're certified organic, but a regenerative organic dairy farm. And they're making the most amazing milk that is actually the milk that they're doing is this A2 milk, which somebody that's lactose intolerant can actually drink. And they're doing it in a way that is just, it's mind blowing when you get their story out. And to me, I get done with these interviews. It's like, my God, that's why I'm, that inspiration. We just need more of that, right? Yeah. We need more of that. We need more of the people that want to and start to, call out the people that don't have to anymore. Yeah. That's the key.
And Todd, everyone listening, we all know there's people out there. The one I always love, that I always tell at my school presentations, there's an amazing grape grower in the Hex River Valley in South Africa that I met, and I got there just as the grape harvest was about to begin, and he held these amazing white grapes, and he looked at me, Todd, with such passion, and he said, Max, in a South African accent, Max, when you go back to the UK and Europe, tell the children that we're growing sunshine for them. Tell them we grow sunshine. I thought,
I love it. But that's what it takes, right? I mean, we're going to have to keep these conversations on. So I think the Max and Todd show's got to happen. I'm just throwing it out on the table. What do you think?
Done.
Let's go.
Done.
I love. Can we have like matching shirts, and can we have a secret handshake?
Oh, fine. I thought you wanted me to get Prince William on board. I'd get him.
Well,
if you can get Harry.
If you get Billy, well, hey, I can go, Megan, and she's literally like an hour and a half away. I could just blow over.
Really?
It's not a big deal. Yeah, I just ring the bell. Just say, hey, what's up? She'll come on.
Is she returning your calls now?
Absolutely.
You know, after that incident. Yeah.
Well,
have you not shown up at the wedding?
No, well, I thought it was an invitation. I didn't realize that it was a court order. I thought it was an invitation. It was my fault. But I cleared it up when I didn't even get past the ballet, so it was no big deal. We were all good. But no, she's totally fine. She'll come on. We'll get the whole family. How about that? How about we get the whole family? You got power. Pull that off.
Yeah, and we'll get Boris as well. We'll get not sure about Liz, because she doesn't actually live that far. Sorry, the Queen. She doesn't live that far from here when she's in our neck of the woods. Yeah, she's amazing.
I'd hang out with her. Can you imagine having a couple brandies with her and just talking? Oh, yeah, I'd be all about that.
Tell us.
Tell us more.
Tell
us more. I love it. I'm down. Well, brother, I got to tell you, our 20-minute conversation went longer than 20 minutes.
Can I just say, everyone, I think you're very, very lucky to have an individual like Todd, who doesn't mind pushing the boundaries, and the fact that he's allowing me a gob with a mic on as well, just to add even more character to him is fantastic. So on behalf of everyone from the UK, to Todd and your fantastic team, we just want to say,
I was not expecting that, but I have to tell you, I appreciate that. I want to do this. Let's go. The Max and Todd thing is going to happen. 2022. I'm coming. Well, you know what? We just got to fly. We just got to figure out how to sneak into the country. Come here. You can sneak in here. It's no big deal. You don't need a vaccine passport. Just come on down. Go to Texas. Come on. It's wide open.
I'll come in on my motorbike.
And if you come in, you might get cash. So that's positive too. So, but no, seriously, brother, I you mean the world to me. I appreciate your guidance and your support, and the way you've treated us, and the way that you've been so open and honest and caring for us, and you've been a big motivator to me, and I appreciate you.
It's all about collaboration. We're all gonna create success for this sector through collaboration, through talking.
Agree.
And through a bucket full of love.
Well, look, it's what it's going to take, right? And and I think that's one of the big problems too, Max. And I just want to chime in, but I think when you have conversations that come from the heart, it can win the day, as opposed to a conversation that's just a part of a narrative package, right? That's holding something up. And I think that's the big difference. And I've learned that tremendously from this broadcast. I've had broadcasts on here where I've had people on the other end of this cry. I've been on broadcasts where I've actually teared up and cried because they've touched me so deeply. And I think it's important to remember that we're capable of so much if we give ourselves the grace and the willingness to go accomplish it.
Yeah. And in that respect, everyone, all Todd wants from me is my kilt, so he can meet lots of Australian women.
I'll tell you right now, just full disclosure, you and I are going to have an offline conversation about a kilt. You're going to tell me what to do. You're going to tell me the finest kilt maker that there is. I don't even know whatever you're going to get. We're going to find, I'm pretty positive that there's no Linsky tartan. It's probably maybe black with like a Dalmatian spot or something. I don't even know, but I will get it done. I promise you, on this broadcast in front of all these people, I'm going to get a kilt and I will wear it. Done.
Excellent. Okay. Well, when we both present at a conference somewhere in Las Vegas,
kilted up.
Oh God. Okay, kilted. Done.
But I want to pick my own socks.
Done.
You heard it first.
I will pick your sporran for you.
Do I have to get a shot? Are you sure? Yes, you can. You can pick whatever you want.
Leave that with me.
I'm done. I'm all about it. I'm going to have my own socks and I'm going to do the kilt. I'm literally, I will tell you right now, you'll have an, and you will have an email in your inbox on this, and it probably won't be from me, but it'll happen. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Todd.
Max and Todd Show 2022. Hold on, everybody. Get ready. Here it comes. Out of the park we go. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. We'll see you next time on another crazy adventure with Max and Todd. Bye, everybody.
Be safe. Bye, 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 bye.